I'll never forget the night it happened. The sound of glass clinking outside my porch at midnight, followed by the faint chemical smell that made the hair on my arms stand straight up. I froze, staring out the window, and there she was, Karen, crouching by my fence, pouring something suspicious into a dish. My chest tightened. Could it be antifreeze for my cat? I burst out the door, voice shaking with rage. "What the hell are you doing?" I shouted, my slippers slapping against the wooden porch. Karen jerked up like a deer caught in headlights, her wide fake blonde curls bouncing as she tried to hide the bottle behind her back. Her excuse came out sharp, entitled, like nails dragging across a chalkboard. "Your vermin cat scratches my car. I'm protecting my property. This is my right." I swear, in that moment, I could hear my blood pounding in my ears. My cat, Luna, had been my lifeline after my divorce. The one warm creature that slept beside me when the house felt too empty. And here stood Karen, my neighbor, my so-called homeowners association enforcer, trying to murder her. "Oh, you messed up big this time," I muttered under my breath. My hands shook, not from fear, but from the sheer weight of fury I was holding back. Karen rolled her eyes, bold as ever. "Relax. It's just a little deterrent. Maybe your cat should stay indoors where it belongs." Deterrent. Antifreeze was lethal. One sip and Luna would have died in agony. My throat closed. The words choked out of me like a growl. "You're insane." But just then, before I could lunge at her, the twist no one expected happened. Luna herself appeared, her sleek black fur glinting in the moonlight, tail swishing like a whip. She leapt silently from the fence and landed right in front of Karen. And oh, my God, I wish I had filmed it. Luna hissed, a sound like a knife tearing through fabric, then launched herself claws first at Karen's arm. The scream that tore from Karen's mouth. It was a sound you'd expect in a horror movie. High-pitched, broken, full of shock. "Ah, get it off me," she shrieked, flailing like a rag doll as Luna dug in, scratching and clawing with furious precision. Karen spun, stumbled, and in her panic, dropped the antifreeze bottle, spilling its deadly green slick across the concrete. I gasped, torn between horror and a wicked surge of satisfaction. Was this karma happening in real time? Karen stumbled back, arms streaked with red scratches, her expensive blouse torn to ribbons. She tripped over her own garden gnome and hit the ground with a thud so loud it echoed. Luna, nimble and fierce, leapt back onto the fence, arching her back and staring down at Karen with eyes like glowing embers. "Oh, you're done," I said coldly, pulling out my phone. "You tried to poison my cat, and you just got mauled. Smile for the camera." Karen's face twisted, half in pain, half in rage. "I'll sue you. That beast attacked me." I laughed, actually laughed, sharp and bitter. "Attack? You just tried to kill her. And guess what, Karen? I've got it all on my security cam." That shut her up real fast. Her jaw dropped, her face going pale as the reality sank in. She had no idea the little red dot on my fence was recording every second of her cruel little stunt. And then, another twist I didn't see coming. As Karen scrambled to get up, clutching her bleeding arm, blue and red lights flooded the street. My neighbor Sam, bless his insomniac soul, had already called the cops when he saw her sneaking around with the bottle. The sirens wailed. The crunch of tires on gravel filled the night and 2 officers stepped out, flashlights slicing across the yard. Karen froze, like a rabbit in headlights, as they shone the beam right on the spilled antifreeze bottle. "What's going on here?" One officer barked, pointed, my voice trembling but firm. "She tried poisoning my cat. I caught her in the act. The evidence is right there. My camera has the whole thing." Karen, bleeding and desperate, started screaming. "He's lying. That animal attacked me. Look at my arm. The cop raised an eyebrow. So you admit you were here at midnight with Antifreeze? Her mouth opened, then shut. Her face turned blotchy red, like a child caught stealing cookies. Except this wasn't petty. It was felony cruelty. The officer picked up the bottle with gloved hands, sniffed it and nodded grimly. Yep, Antifreeze. This could have killed more than just a cat. Do you realize how dangerous this is for neighborhood pets? Even kids. My heart clenched as I heard those words. Kids. It hadn't even hit me that her sick stunt could have hurt a child. I swallowed hard, glaring at her. You're unbelievable. Karen tried one last desperate act of theater. She clutched her scratches like an Oscar-worthy performance, sobbing dramatically. But I'm the victim. Look at me. That devil cat mauled me. The cop didn't flinch. Ma'am, you're under arrest for attempted animal cruelty and reckless endangerment. Put your hands behind your back. The look on her face, the shock, the disbelief, the raw, ugly rage that her privilege and homeowners association power didn't shield her this time. The click of handcuffs snapping around her wrists was the sweetest sound I'd ever heard. She screamed as they led her to the cruiser, still trying to twist the story. This is harassment. I'll call my lawyer. You'll regret this. But her words bounced off the night air. Hollow. Powerless. The whole neighborhood had gathered now. Lights flicking on. Blinds parting. Neighbors stepping out in pajamas to watch the spectacle. And for once, they weren't on Karen's side. I saw Mrs. Diaz, the sweet old lady whose roses Karen had trampled last month, smirk behind her hand. I saw the Johnson kids pointing, whispering she's getting arrested, like it was Christmas morning. And Sam. He leaned on his porch rail, clapping slow and steady. Finally, about damn time. Karen's face pressed against the cruiser window, tears streaking her makeup, a ruined queen stripped of her throne. As the cops drove away, silence settled for a beat. Then Luna leapt back into my arms, purring like a motor, nuzzling under my chin as if to say, "See, I handled it." I exhaled, shaking, half laughing, half crying. My heart was still racing. But in that moment, relief crashed over me. My cat was safe. Karen was done. And the whole neighborhood finally saw her for what she really was. The next day, the homeowners association held an emergency meeting. And guess who wasn't invited? Karen. Her arrest made the local paper. Her mugshot plastered online. The scratches from Luna etched across her face like a signature of justice. She tried to demand sympathy, but the comments section lit her up like wildfire. Serves her right. Don't mess with animals. Karma's a claw. And me. I sat back, stroking Luna, sipping coffee, still shaking my head in disbelief. What kind of person tries to poison a cat? Well, I'll tell you one thing. Karen thought she'd silence me, break me down, make me beg. But she underestimated the bond between me and Luna. And in the end, she wasn't just outsmarted. She was clawed, caught and caged. Tell me, don't you think that's karma purring at its finest? Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more Wild Homeowners Association and Karen stories that'll blow your mind. It happened in 3 seconds flat. Me son was on the ground, crying, clutching the side of his head, and Karen stood over him, gripping his hearing aid like it was some alien tech. "He's recording my thoughts," she screamed, her voice slicing through the quiet summer air. I didn't even blink before I was sprinting across the garden, heart in my throat and fists clenched. How do you explain to a 10-year-old why an adult, let alone a neighbor, would rip out his cochlear implant like that? Why someone would look into the innocent face of a partially deaf kid and accuse him of mind control? God, I can still hear her shrill voice echoing. "You're spying on me, you little freak." What kind of monster says that to a child? That morning had started so peacefully. My son, Eli, was out in the community garden, tending to his sunflowers, his happy flowers, as he called them. It was therapeutic for him, especially after the bullying he endured at school. The garden was supposed to be his safe space. Until she showed up. Karen. I knew she was trouble from the moment we moved into the HOA. Everything about her screamed control, right down to her rigid ponytail and clipboard that she wielded like a weapon of suburban warfare. But I never thought she'd lay hands on my child. I heard the scream from the kitchen. One of those primal, soul-rattling screams that makes your stomach drop. I ran outside and found Eli curled on the ground, tears streaking his cheeks, shaking. And there she was, Karen, standing over him like a victorious gargoyle, holding his hearing aid up in the air like she'd just caught a trophy. "Get away from him!" I shouted, voice cracking from rage. She turned to me, eyes wide and glassy. "He's recording private conversations. That thing on his head, it's listening." "You mean his hearing aid? You absolute psycho?" I growled, pulling Eli to me. "I know what I saw," she barked. "That device blinks. It's surveillance." I could hardly speak. My jaw was clenched so tight, my teeth ached. "He's 10. He's deaf. That device helps him hear birds and bees. Not your lunatic delusions." Karen tossed the hearing aid on the dirt like it was contaminated and stomped away. No apology. No remorse. Just, "I'm calling the HOA. This garden is full of spies." What the hell was happening? I hugged Eli tighter, his small chest heaving against mine, his sobs muffled into my shirt. He couldn't even process what had just happened. And neither could I. That night I posted on the neighborhood app. I told them everything. No sugarcoating. No politeness. Just the raw, ugly truth of what this woman did to a kid who's never heard a fly. I added photos of the damaged hearing aid, scratched, mangled. A device that costs $4,000. I asked a simple question. If this was your child, what would you do? The response exploded. Parents, teachers, veterans, people from all walks of life commented with shock, fury, and empathy. Many shared their own experiences of Karen's erratic behavior. Turns out, my son wasn't her first victim, just the youngest. The next morning, I got a knock on the door. It was James, one of the quieter HOA board members. "I saw your post," he said grimly. "And you should know. Karen's been pushing for a rule banning electronic interference devices in common areas." I blinked. "You mean hearing aids? She's lumping them in with drones, AirTags, smart collars, says they violate privacy." My blood ran cold. I took a deep breath, then another. "Okay, you want to play that game, Karen?" I whispered under my breath, because she'd just poked the wrong mama bear. See, what Karen didn't know is that I work in accessibility law. I consult on ADA compliance. I've sat on panels about disability discrimination. And honey, she had no clue the avalanche she just unleashed. By noon, I had drafted a cease and desist letter citing ADA Title II and Title III, including direct legal precedents regarding interference with assistive technology. I also filed a formal police report. Yes, it's a felony in this state to tamper with medical devices. But I didn't stop there. I reached out to the local news station, one that had done pieces on inclusion and tech in schools. I told them everything. They sent a crew out that afternoon. When they aired the story, they blurred Eli's face but showed the clip of Karen yelling, which a neighbor had caught on their porch cam. Her shrieking about mind-reading devices went viral within hours. Suddenly, the neighborhood wasn't laughing with Karen anymore, they were laughing at her. Oh, and the twist? Turns out Karen did have something to hide. Because once folks started digging, someone unearthed a few interesting things, like the fact that Karen had an expired private investigator license from 2 states over, and that she'd once been arrested for illegal wiretapping in 2003. She wasn't afraid of being spied on, she was paranoid someone would do to her what she had done to others. You can bet that went into my complaint to the HOA. I demanded a formal review. I demanded a vote for her removal. And guess what? The vote passed. Unanimously. Karen was stripped of her board seat in front of the entire community. Her face went white, then red, then purple. She tried to shout, to rant about conspiracies and silent weapons and hearing lasers. But no one was listening anymore. Not even James. Not even her former HOA allies. She stormed out, slamming the door so hard it rattled the windows. And I just sat there with Eli in my lap, his new, shiny hearing aid humming softly in his ear, donated by a nonprofit after they saw our story on the news. "Why did she hate me?" he asked quietly. I sighed. "She didn't hate you, baby. She hated the idea of anything she couldn't control." Eli leaned his head on my shoulder. "But she lost, right?" I smiled. "Yeah, she did." And then came the bitter end for Karen. 2 weeks later, a thick envelope arrived at our doorstep. Certified mail. Karen had the audacity to send me a cease and desist for character defamation over the news clip. I laughed so hard, I nearly dropped my coffee. She really thought she could silence us with that? Well, I had a little surprise of my own. The lawsuit had already been filed by me. With the help of a disability rights attorney, we took Karen to civil court for assault, emotional distress, and destruction. Karen tried to plead ignorance, claimed it was all a misunderstanding. But the court wasn't buying it, not with video evidence, witness testimonies, and her wild conspiracy rant caught in HD. The judge didn't even flinch when he handed down the verdict. She was ordered to pay for the full replacement cost of the hearing aid plus damages. Over $25,000 in total. When the ruling hit the neighborhood app, it was like the final nail in her reputation's coffin. Parents who once stayed quiet now shared their own horror stories. The HOA even passed a new rule protecting assistive devices and disabilities in community spaces. Eli's Law, they called it. And Karen? She put her house up for sale the following month. No one in the neighborhood shed a tear. Eli's sunflowers are taller than ever now. He waters them with a grin, humming to himself as the birds chirp nearby. He wears his new hearing aid proudly, no longer afraid of whispers or side eyes. And every now and then he looks at me and asks, "Is she gone for good?" I just nod. She's not just Ganesh's a lesson. A very expensive one. If you want more stories where karma swings back hard and lawsuits deliver the final blow, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I should have known the second she leaned into my car window with that wide, fake smile. "Oh, you're headed that way. Could I just hop in with you? Just this once?" Ha! Just once. It was never just once. That was the hook, the trap, the start of something that would spiral into daily demands. Sighs of exhaustion, slammed doors, and the ugly sound of my patience tearing apart like paper in the rain. First, it was harmless. I was leaving the mall after picking up some hardware, jingling bags of bolts and paint rollers when Karen, yes, that Karen, the self-proclaimed queen of the HOA, appeared out of nowhere. Her heels clicked against the concrete. Too sharp, too precise, and her sunglasses sat perched high like she was auditioning for a role she was never cast in. She tapped on my passenger window. Tap, tap, tap. I lowered it halfway, wary. Headed to Maple Drive. She chirped, "That's on your way, right?" I hesitated, then nodded. "Yeah, sure. Hop in." Big mistake. The first ride was 15 minutes of forced small talk. Her perfume choking the air like a chemical spill. Her voice dripping with superiority. "You should really clean the leaves off your driveway. It lowers property values when the cul-de-sac looks messy." My jaw clenched. I focused on the road, telling myself, "It's just this once. Don't make a scene." But then, the next day she was waiting outside the mall again. And the next. And the next. She didn't ask anymore. She just waved like it was her car, her chauffeur, her right. Every ride felt heavier. Not just from her weight, but from the sheer entitlement that filled the cabin. She'd slam my door shut like it owed her obedience. Sigh dramatically if I didn't take the exact route she wanted. Complain about the cheap suspension if we hit a bump. And this was the kicker. She never once offered even a penny for gas. "Karen," I said one day, forcing a smile, "gas isn't free, you know." She gasped, clutching her designer bag. Oh, please. You're already driving. It's not like I'm making you go out of your way. My fingers tightened on the steering wheel. Out of my way. She had no idea what those miles added up to. My tank drained faster than my patience. My budget stretched thinner than my brakes. And still, she sat there like a queen on her throne. Demanding, judging, using. One Friday evening, when I wanted nothing more than to drive straight home, she was there again. Heels clicking, sunglasses flashing, hand waving. I slowed, not to pick her up, but to roll down the window. Not today. I called. I'm heading somewhere else. Her mouth dropped open. Excuse me. You have to take me. It's your duty as a neighbor. I laughed, sharp and bitter. Duty? Since when did neighborly courtesy turn into daily servitude? She stomped her foot, the sound echoing across the parking lot. If you don't drive me, I'll have to bring this up with the HOA. Don't think I won't. And there it was, the threat, the weapon she always carried. The HOA. She wielded it like a sword, swinging it whenever she felt her grip slipping. My stomach twisted with dread, but also fire. That night, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling. My car sat outside, tank half empty, tires worn, suspension squeaking, and inside me, something snapped. Enough. The next week, I devised my plan. I still let her in the car, still played the part of the obliging neighbor. But I started recording. My phone, tucked neatly in the cup holder, captured every sneer, every entitled sigh, every word that dripped with condescension. Oh, you're driving too slow. Don't take that turn. It's tacky. Honestly, your car smells like cheap air freshener. Can't you get a better one? You should be grateful. You know, driving me makes you look respectable. People notice these things. Grateful. My teeth ground together. But I stayed calm, letting her dig her own grave with every careless word. Then came the twist I hadn't expected. One afternoon, as she settled into my car, Karen let slip something that froze my blood. You know, she whispered, smirking, if I were you, I'd be careful with those gas receipts you've been submitting. HOA funds aren't meant for personal reimbursement. I whipped my head toward her. What the hell are you talking about? She shrugged, smug. Oh, I saw the treasurer's emails. You've been getting partial refunds for mileage. Haven't you? Naughty. Naughty. Imagine if the board found out you've been misusing funds. My jaw dropped. That wasn't true. I'd only been reimbursed once. Months ago. For hauling community equipment in my truck. But she was plotting to twist it. To turn me into the villain. That was the moment the line was crossed. My hands trembled on the steering wheel. Heart pounding. She wasn't just mooching gas. She was laying the groundwork for a full-blown character assassination. I smiled. Slow and dangerous. Karen, you might want to be careful. Some people keep receipts. She rolled her eyes, not realizing the double meaning. But I did. I had every word, every insult, every threat, saved. The showdown came faster than I imagined. At the next HOA meeting, Karen stood, heels stabbing the hardwood floor, voice rising like a siren. I think we need to discuss misuse of community reimbursements, she announced, glaring at me. Some people seem to think the HOA exists to fuel their gas tanks. Murmurs spread across the room. My blood boiled, but I kept my composure. I leaned forward, pressed a button, and my phone speaker filled the silence. Karen's voice crackled out. You should be grateful. You know, driving me makes you look respectable. Honestly, your car smells like cheap air freshener. Can't you get a better one? Gasps filled the room. Neighbors shifted uncomfortably, eyes darting to Karen. I pressed another clip. If you don't drive me, I'll bring this up with the HOA. Don't think I won't. The room erupted. Chairs scraped. Whispers hissed. Someone even laughed. And Karen. Karen. Her face drained of color. Her mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. Tach, that's out of context. She shrieked. He's twisting. I cut her off with the final clip. Imagine if the board found out you've been misusing funds. Silence. Heavy. Crushing. The president of the HOA cleared his throat. Karen, do you realize what you just admitted to? That's extortion. The gavel came down. Karen's rein cracked like glass under pressure. But the twist cut sharper than even I expected. A week later, a notice arrived. Karen wasn't just stripped of her board position. She was facing a lawsuit. Another neighbor, one she'd harassed for years, finally had the courage to come forward, armed with my recordings as evidence of her pattern. The lawsuit named her directly, citing harassment, intimidation, and misuse of HOA authority. I stood on my porch the day she got served, watching the officer hand her the thick envelope. She ripped it open, her shriek echoing across the cul-de-sac. You'll regret this. She screamed at me, face red, hair disheveled. I just leaned against my car, arms crossed. No, Karen. For once, you'll regret everything you've done. And as she stormed back inside, slamming her door so hard it rattled, I let out a long breath I'd been holding for months. Finally, the gas, the insults, the threats, it all came full circle. She wanted to weaponize the HOA against me. Fine. Now the law itself was coming for her. Her downfall wasn't fiery, wasn't cinematic. It was bitter, slow, cold, like rust eating through steel until nothing was left but scraps. And every time I filled up my gas tank, I smiled, because I knew this ride was over. And that's how the so-called queen of the cul-de-sac turned a simple courtesy ride into daily extortion, only to end up facing a lawsuit of her own making. Thank you for listening, and don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel for more wild HOA justice stories. She accused me of fraud. Me. All because I had too many packages on my porch? Turns out, the real fraudster was the same woman ringing HOA bells and wagging her finger at everyone else. It started on a Tuesday, one of those muggy, sticky Florida mornings where even the cicadas sound annoyed. I had just stepped out onto my porch, barefoot, coffee in hand, when I spotted her again. Karen. Beige sun hat, clipboard, and that look. You know the one. Like she smelled something sour, but couldn't quite place it. She stood across the street, arms folded, glaring at my porch like it had personally insulted her. I had 6 packages waiting, just supplies for my small resin art business. Nothing fancy, just bulk pigment, silicone molds, and a new set of UV lamps. I waved like a civil person. She didn't wave back. Instead, I saw her pull out her phone, snap a photo, and stomp back toward her house like she just won a round in court. A chill ran through me, and it wasn't the weather. Something about the way she walked made my stomach twist. 2 days later, I got an email from the HOA Compliance Board. Suspicious activity reported, possible commercial operations in a residential zone. What? I gasped out loud, nearly dropping my coffee. I told them when I moved in. I worked from home. My LLC was registered. I paid my taxes, and my packages never blocked the walkway. I didn't have customers coming over. No signage. No noise. Nothing. I called the HOA office. Ms. Landry, we received a report with photographic evidence of consistent high-volume package deliveries to your address, said the woman on the other end, her voice robotic. Photographic evidence? You mean Karen's iPhone snaps? The woman paused. We can't confirm the identity of the complainant, right? And I'm the Queen of England. I sighed, rubbed my temples, and asked, so now what? We'll need to conduct a compliance check next week. If you are found in violation, fines may be issued. Great. Just great. I sat back, staring at the wall, heart pounding. All because some nosy neighbor thought she smelled something fishy. But I wasn't the one stinking up the block. That night I couldn't sleep. My mind spun like a busted fan. I kept replaying every encounter I'd had with Karen in the past year, every smug smirk, every friendly HOA reminder left on my door. Every time she called the landscaping crew to measure my lawn blade by blade. And then it hit me. She never got mail. Not once had I seen a delivery at her place. No Amazon vans, no boxes, no grocery drop-offs. Nothing. Weird, right? In 2025? Curiosity got the better of me. So, the next morning, I set up my old wildlife cam facing the street disguised as a decorative solar lantern. Nothing invasive, just enough to catch traffic. I waited 3 days. Nothing unusual. Then, Friday afternoon, a beat-up silver hatchback pulled up outside her place. No logos, no license plate, just a skinny guy in a hoodie and sunglasses. He grabbed 3 bubble mailers from the trunk, jogged up to Karen's side door, and was gone in less than a minute. What the hell? Then it happened again the next day. Different driver. More unmarked packages. I recorded it all. I thought about calling the HOA, but let's be real. They weren't going to bite the hand that feeds them cookies at board meetings. So I dug deeper. Online. I pulled up Karen's full name from an old HOA newsletter. Karen Elsbeth Downing. Facebook. Locked. LinkedIn. Deleted. But then, on an old Etsy scam subreddit, I found a post from someone in another state. Beware seller LSDG Designs never received item. Fake tracking. No refunds. The user had posted screenshots of messages, and one of them showed a partial address. I squinted. Holy crap, that was our street. My heart skipped. I cross-checked the scam name on other platforms. eBay, Depop, Mercury. The same handle popped up again and again. Different products, different photos, same scam behavior. Always the same deal: collect payment, send a fake USPS tracking number, then ghost. And every complaint was recent, within the last 3 months. I didn't want to jump to conclusions, but if the porch fits, I sent the footage and a full report to the local sheriff's department tip line. I included screenshots, dates, license plates, once I caught them, and a typed-up explanation of how Karen had targeted me for package volume while quietly running a shady operation out her side door. Then I waited, nervously, anxiously. By the next week, my compliance check came and went. They found no violations, no fines, just a mumbled apology from a new HOA assistant who looked embarrassed to be there. But Karen? She wasn't so lucky. 2 days later, 3 unmarked cars rolled up around noon. 1 sheriff's deputy, 2 guys in button-downs, maybe postal inspectors or some federal fraud division. I didn't care. I watched from behind my blinds as they knocked on her door. She opened it with that usual pinched expression, probably ready to file another complaint about someone's recycling bin being visible. But when the badge came out, her face changed. Her shoulders stiffened. Her mouth fell open. I saw her start shaking her head, then flailing her hands. They didn't flinch. They stepped inside. A neighbor from down the street walked over to me as it all unfolded. "You seeing this?" she asked, voice low. I nodded. "She's been running a scam. Mail fraud, looks like." The woman blinked. "Karen? Are you serious?" I glanced back at the porch where one of the officers was now carrying out a black duffel bag. Dead serious. We watched in silence as Karen was escorted out 20 minutes later. Still in her robe, hair frizzed out like a cartoon villain after a lightning strike. I don't even think she had time to put on shoes. But here's where the twist hits. You ready? Turns out, the HOA president Susan, sweet elderly Susan, was in on it. Apparently, Karen was running the online stores, and Susan was laundering the payments through a non-profit HOA consulting service. She claimed, was for community development. More like community deception. They both got hit with charges. Mail fraud, wire fraud, conspiracy, and 1 count of obstruction because Susan tried to delete HOA records once the heat came down. And the best part? The lawsuit. Yep, A class action suit was filed by over 20 buyers who got scammed online. Once my video was made public and the scam accounts were traced. The lawyer representing them even reached out to Mefford to name me as a key witness, and possibly help sue the HOA itself for harassment and targeting based on Karen's false reports. You think I said no? Please, I've been waiting for this. With Karen and Susan both under federal investigation, the entire HOA board scrambled like roaches under kitchen lights. People started questioning every rule, every fine, every suspicious vote that had passed in the last year. Turns out, Susan had funneled HOA funds to consulting services linked to Karen's shell companies. Fraud ran deep, and neighbors who once clutched their pearls at my package count now looked at me with something else entirely. Respect. A special meeting was called. The community voted unanimously to dissolve the current HOA leadership and bring in outside legal oversight. The attorney for the victims, a sharp woman named Melinda Kerr, filed a massive civil lawsuit naming Karen, Susan, and get this, the HOA itself for facilitating fraud through abuse of power and cover-ups. When Melinda asked me to testify about the forged complaints and harassment, I didn't even hesitate. You think I forgot the sleepless nights, the knot in my chest, the way Karen made me second-guess my own integrity? No, I remembered everything. And when Karen finally showed up in court, hair dyed a desperate brown. No sun hat in sight, she didn't look so smug anymore. She pled not guilty, but the evidence spoke volumes. The recordings, the packages, the subreddit posts, the tax records. Every lie she built was falling apart like wet cardboard. The community healed slowly. Trust doesn't come easy after betrayal like that. But neighbors talked more. We looked out for each other. A new, transparent HOA board was voted and known with no Karens, no Susans, and no backdoor deals. And me? My resin shop grew, with the support of people who now knew my name for the right reasons. Funny how karma works, huh? So the next time someone accuses you out of nowhere, asks too many questions, or tries to make you doubt yourself, look closer. They might be hiding the biggest secret of all. And if you're into justice served cold with a side of sweet lawsuit revenge, subscribe to my YouTube channel for more wild true stories from the neighborhood frontline.